I'm Vinny Politan. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And we're going to begin this hour talking about Lori Vallow Daybell and her husband Chad Daybell, the so-called doomsday couple. But there's a third wheel in this whole relationship and alleged conspiracy. It's Lori Vallow's brother Alex. Was Uncle Alex Cox the Doomsday Family Hitman? And would you be surprised to learn that he actually dabbled in stand-up comedy? As a matter of fact, if he was alive today, Cox would be facing charges like his sister Lori and her husband Chad. The thing is, he died suddenly 3 months after his niece and nephew disappeared. Julie Grant tells us more about Uncle Alex Cox.
He's Lori Vallow Daybell's older brother and the admitted killer of her fourth husband.
What's the emergency there?
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
Alex Cox is calm and collected, reporting shooting Charles Vallow on July 12th, 2019.
Okay, and are you wanting to start CPR?
No, I don't know how to do that.
I can walk you through it.
He's showing no emotion about what just happened in his sister's house in Chandler, Arizona.
How long ago did this occur? Did it just happen?
Yeah, maybe 5 minutes before I called.
Okay.
Minutes later, police arrive, and he nonchalantly and briefly tells the officer what happened.
I just went back to the living room, like, what is your problem?
With the gun again?
Yes. And I said, I want you to put that bat down, and he wouldn't do it. And he's like, and he came at me with the bat again after he'd already hit me in the head, so I shot him to stop him.
Okay, and then what happened?
That was it.
Charles Vallow's killing is currently under investigation. It's also not the first violent confrontation Cox had with one of Lori's husbands. He reportedly served 90 days in jail for felonious assault on Joseph Ryan, Lori's third husband and Tylee's father. This video, posted in 2010 on what appears to be Cox's YouTube channel, shows him doing stand-up and joking about the 2007 assault.
I was fortunate enough to do a little jail time last year. I'll confess to you guys. You ever had something that you knew was the right thing to do, but it turns out that later on it was a felony? This is a true story. I found out that my ex-brother-in-law was a pedophile, so I took a stun gun and I discharged it right in his and I did. And in Texas, that's a felony. I'm thinking, maybe I'll get a handshake or a parade or something. I got probation.
Cox also did voice impressions in this stand-up routine posted in 2009 on the YouTube channel Phoenix Roll Call. Cox does a bit about working as a telemarketer for MCI and pretending to be other people.
Sometimes I call the people with Hannibal Lecter. Quid pro quo, Stephanie. I sell you things, you buy things. Do tell me about your long-distance calling plan.
Back to the serious family incidents in question. In October of 2019, Brandon Boudreaux, who was married to Alex and Lori's niece, Melanie Pawlowski, reported that he narrowly escaped death after someone shot at him.
911, where's your emergency?
Someone just shot my window.
Okay, someone shot at your vehicle?
Yeah, and it hit my window, it shattered my driver's side window.
Boudreaux suspects Cox was behind the attempt on his life.
Just makes you sad. Like a lot of people you care about aren't here anymore because of these ideas.
On December 12th, 2019, Alex Cox died unexpectedly.
911, where's your emergency?
I have a older male here named Alex. He just passed out here on my bathroom.
He is breathing?
Yes.
The 51-year-old found unresponsive by a family friend.
Is he on his back or on his stomach? Where is he at?
He's on his side.
Okay. Can you lay him flat on his back on the ground?
I'll try. There's feces on the ground.
Okay. I know that's gross, but if we can just go ahead and get him flat on his back, I want to make sure he's breathing.
Later pronounced dead at the hospital. The medical examiner determining he died of natural causes, blood clots in his lungs. Now, Alex Cox's name keeps resurfacing in the investigations into the disappearance and deaths of his niece and nephew, Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow.
The amended criminal complaint was filed on June 30th, 2020. It is case number CR 2220-838.
The children's uncle, Alex, is an accused co-conspirator with Lori and her fifth husband, Chad Daybell.
It alleges that the following: the defendants, Chad Guy Daybell, Lori Vallow, and or another person or persons on or between the 22nd day of September 2019 and the 9th day of June 2020 in the county of Fremont, state of Idaho, and elsewhere, did willfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence in a felony proceeding.
That evidence being the dead bodies of Tylee and JJ. 7-year-old JJ was found wrapped in plastic and bound with duct tape. 16-year-old Tylee was dismembered, charred, and buried in Daybell's pet cemetery. Cox isn't able to face prosecution or give investigators any answers, but the digital footprint detectives say he left behind with his cell phone pinging from Chad Daybell's property on September 9th and 23rd in the locations where the kids were found is sure to be critical evidence for prosecutors in seeking justice for his niece and nephew.
And a report Court TV has just obtained from the police department in Gilbert, Arizona, contains some shocking revelations surrounding Alex Cox's suspicious death. It may even seem more suspicious to you after you hear this. Let's bring in Court TV anchor Julie Grant to break it all down for us. And Julie, I know for months we knew he was found dead in his home, but we didn't really know any of the specifics about what happened, and it seemed there may have been some warning signs here, and we're also learning more about who discovered him.
Exactly, Vinny. Big red flags here. This report is really, really illuminating, and we've pulled out the best parts for all of our viewers at home. So to answer your question about who found him, it was his wife's son. So Alex Cox's stepson, his name Joseph Lopez. He is the son of Zulema Pastines. We've talked a little bit about Zulema Pastines, someone who was married to Uncle Alex for just a couple of weeks. They eloped in Vegas. Not much known about her, but we know that it was her son who she called to check on Alex that discovered him in that state on his bathroom floor. So let's take a look at this report. We've highlighted this really significant portion of it there. On December 12th, 2019, Alex was awake when he received a telephone call from his mother. Now that really should say this is Joseph Lopez is the son here. That's a little bit of a typo there by the officer. But she asked Joseph to go check on Alex. She's never called her son before and asked him to check on Alex in the past. Joseph didn't know the reason why his mother asked him to check on Alex, but he did. The telephone conversation ended, and a few minutes later, his mother called him a second time. Joseph told police she sounded serious when she asked him to just, quote, call the cops, telling Joseph she was on her way home from work. And he knew this had to be really serious for his mother to leave work early. So a real sense of urgency. Her son, someone who stays up late, tends to get up later in the day. This was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The call placed by Alex Cox's wife after she texted him around 3:05 p.m. and he did not respond. And something else she knew, she got a text from a friend who gave him a blessing, Vinny, a blessing over the phone because he had not been feeling well. This is another big revelation. He had not been feeling well at all in the days leading up to his death. In fact, around December 6th, he was experiencing shortness of breath, very easily becoming winded. He had traveled to Mexico on the 7th to pick up some prescriptions for himself and for his wife. One-day trip, got back home. He was playing with the kids at the house and becoming very, very unusually winded. So she was worried about him. And as a matter of fact, on December 11th, Vinny, she had asked Alex if she, should take him to the hospital. And he said no. So he was not doing well, very short of breath in the days leading up to this. And then on that day in question, she rushed home. Police were called, and we know he was gone shortly after they arrived.
And again, this is in December of 2019.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I'm listening to this, and it almost sounds like COVID, right?
Right, right. You read my mind, my friend. Yes. And we know officially blood clots in his lungs were determined to be the cause of death, but we weren't hearing about COVID here in this country until 2020. So you're so smart, Vinny. That was the first thing that came to my mind as well when I was discussing it with our producers putting together this segment. And maybe that's what they may say at trial. You know, who knows? It's a little too late.
Unbelievable.
Now to tell, isn't it?
All right, let's talk about Zulema Pastines, his wife, because he's married for a couple of weeks, right? One of those, what is it, like a Vegas wedding, as you described it. She has some sort of connection to Lori Vallow?
Oh, yeah, Vinny. So it was Lori Vallow, Mrs. Doomsday, who introduced the couple. And apparently, she and Zulema went to the same LDS church, and Zulema's daughter, her name is Kara, she interviewed with police and she described them as preppers, quote unquote preppers, people who are prepping for doomsday. The doomsday was supposed to happen last July that, Vinny never came. So apparently, we do have a little portion of the report I want to show all of our viewers at home here. Kara referred to Alex as being very religious. She said that he moved into the residence around Thanksgiving in 2019. She stated that Alex's sister, Lori, and her mother had been good friends, attended that same LDS church. Kara called her mother and Lori preppers, explained they were prepping for the end of the world. And she also added that really Zulema was going to go to Idaho to be with Alex Cox, but he was the one who ultimately decided to come back to Arizona, Vinny. And guess who he brought? Give you one guess, his niece, Melanie Boudreaux, another name we've been hearing so much about throughout this case. So it's we're getting a bigger picture with this. I mean, this report, it's 59 pages long. And again, we've extracted the best portions here, but it tells a really unusual story here about the preparation for the end of the world. Lori, again, at the center of this. What else is she at the center of? Introducing the couple, and then Melanie coming along with her uncle at the time, which we have discussed before, also being pretty strange.
Yeah, okay. And you read into this, all right, so Lori knows Zulema before she knows Alex. Alex, the suspected family hitman, responsible for the death of one husband for sure, attacked another husband, and certainly suspected in what happened to his niece and nephew. And then they're exhuming Tammy Daybell, Chad's wife, who died of natural causes. They're exhuming her body, and then he dies. All of this is unreal. All right. December 12th is when he is found. But as you mentioned, he's taking that trip out of the country 6 days beforehand. And how much information do we have about that trip?
Just a little. And I found it to be really unusual, Vinny. And I have a lot more questions than I do answers with respect to this point. But I'll share with you what we know. We know that, I'm going to pull the big portion up and show it to our viewers on the screen here. We know that he started having that shortness of breath on December the 6th, traveled to Mexico on December 7th to pick up some prescriptions for him and for Zulema. Single-day trip, arrived back home in the evening. When he arrived, their grandkids were at the house. He was playing, became easily winded. And Zulema, when she interviewed with police about this, she said that the reason he traveled to Mexico because it was cheaper than buying the pills in the United States. I mean, went all the way to Mexico. I mean, a one-day trip, came back. This just doesn't sound right to me. I mean, who does? You go out of the country for your prescriptions? We don't know what. We don't know what he was picking up either. So it really raises a lot more questions, I think, than it does answers. And I know that she was very fearful initially, did not want to speak to police, was afraid she was going to be a suspect. They assured her she was not. Reluctantly, she did speak to police, told them what she knew about it. And I found this to be the most odd thing in this report. Why is he going out of the country to get pills? And then, of course, I start thinking, in addition to thinking COVID, could it have been the pills that he picked up? Were they not what they were purported to be? Were they something else? Did that lead to the death? So many questions, but it's very, very strange nonetheless.
I mean, beyond strange. And this is the type of case where you can't excuse, like in a lot of cases, there's a coincidence. You can you can't excuse anything here. You got to take a look and then a second and a third look at it to see if any of all this is connected. The other mystery about Alex Cox, we saw some of his stand-up work, and legitimately funny, even though he's joking about a crime that he committed. So he seemed to be very, very poised and comfortable on stage. but I don't think he made money doing that. I mean, do we have any idea? Like, where does all the money come for these people? They're traveling, they're moving, they're in houses, they've got cars. I don't get it, and I never hear about anyone going to work.
Right. I know, Vinny. And I'm glad you brought up work, too, because that was another little interesting tidbit we got from this report. Zulema told police that Alex was a truck driver, that's what he was doing for a living. So that was another little revelation, in addition to him moonlighting as a stand-up comic from time to time, albeit not a very successful one. And I think those appearances were just getting a little bit of stage time. I would be stunned and amazed if he was paid for that, because, with comedy, I mean, that's an industry where you really have to be performing at a very high level in order to be paid for shows. There's a lot of comedians who just want that stage time and do it for free. So I guess working as a truck driver, and she also said that what was unusual with the death was that he was very healthy, did not have any pre-existing health conditions. She said did not abuse drugs or alcohol. So it just really makes you wonder, could those pills from Mexico could have contributed? Could it have been COVID-19? Who knows? Could it have been part of the whole doomsday conspiracy and the preparation for the end of the world? This is odd. And it's also odd that we're seeing this police report now, right? I mean, this is so long they've been keeping things under such wraps in these cases. And finally seeing these details provides a little bit more transparency in what investigators may be sifting through, trying to sort out potential homicide charges for Chad and Lori.
Absolutely. And the truck driver thing makes sense, because the allegations are that he drove a lot of miles. And I was like, wow, who would do driving like that? Well, a truck driver, I mean, they could do 12 hours like that. It's not a big deal. So I can see how he's going from Idaho to Arizona and back and forth, and allegedly, taking shots at this person and that person. Julie Grant, unbelievable stuff. It continues. It continues. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Vinny.
When we come back, big news in the George Floyd case, a major decision by the judge that completely transforms this case. Actually splits it into 2 trials. We'll break it all down next.